Hey, what's going on guys? Oscarmini here, and in today's video, I'm going to compare two smartphones around the same price point of about $250 or about 100,000 Naira. The Redmi Note 9S here and the Huawei Y8P. This might not really be a video to tell you which is the value king. I mean, that's glaringly evident here, but more like a video to show you why you might want to pick one of those devices over the other. And so without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. Boxes first as usual, and the items you get from each of them would be the smartphones themselves, TPU cases, 10-watt charger for the Huawei, and an 18-watt charger from the Redmi Note 9S. Pretty much identical number of accessories, except for the fact that you do not get a pair of earphones from the Redmi. Basically standard stuff for both. Taking a look at the designs of both devices, the Redmi Note 9S here is the more hefty and beefier device. In fact, the Note 9S is made out of glass at the front and rear, while giving you an aluminum frame. Coupled with the bigger battery here, gives you a heavier and a better built smartphone as opposed to the plastic build and lighter feeling smartphone you get in terms of the Huawei Y8P. While both devices still retain the audio jacks, they have them in different locations. The Note leaves it at the traditional bottom placement, while you get it at the top from the Huawei device. Other things that look different when you take a look at the build of these devices would be the camera module, the design and placement here. I'm going to talk more about that later in this video. The fingerprint sensor is actually different, considering that you have a side-mounted fingerprint sensor for the Redmi, while you get the in-display option for the Y8P. Let's not forget, another difference in terms of looks and build would be the display. They're actually more different than alike for the smartphones. Let me say this straight, the Huawei Y8P has a better display here. Although I'm not a huge fan of the dewdrop notch thingy going on here. I mean, this is 2020, a year of cutout and not this kind of notch. This display, first off, is OLED, meaning better blacks, punchier colors, and it comes in a 6.3 inches size and a 418 ppi density, while you have the same resolution of 1080 by 2400 on the 6.67 IPS LCD panel on the Redmi Note 9S here. By the way, this one has a 395 ppi density, so you have more pixel per inch on the Huawei device. As far as I prefer the colors from the Huawei Y8P, the display on the Redmi here is actually pretty nice when you compare it against this display. So obviously the Huawei Y8P is the winner in terms of display, but that's not the case when you consider the audio coming off these devices, as you get better sounding and louder audio from the Redmi smartphone here. Both devices have the bottom firing speakers, not the dual stereo thingy, so you can easily block off the sound while consuming media or gaming with any of the smartphones. Okay, in terms of performance, well, let me talk about the specs first. Both units I have here come in 6 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage, Android 10, right? Now, for the Note 9S, you are getting the newer Snapdragon 720G processor with a better tuned architecture, actually an 8nm chip. And here you're getting a 12nm chip. It features the Kirin 710F processor, which came with the Y9 2019 and the Y9S. So considering the raw performance, gaming and all that, you definitely notice the Redmi to be the better device, of course. It has higher clock frequencies for the cores and you get over 60% more points if you want to consider the Antutu scores. It has been established that you get better performance from the Redmi here, but somehow, now this is personal, I enjoyed playing PUBG with this device of Huawei. Something about it being light and more convenient to hold made me totally overlook the better performance gain from the Redmi here. Weird, right? But that was how I felt using this device. Now, I don't think this comparison would be complete without touching on the no Google services thingy going on with the Huawei device here. As at the time of this video, it isn't news that due to government restrictions, obviously trade war between China and the US, Google apps and services are no longer available for preload on the new Huawei devices such as the Y8P. So you can't use stuff like Google Maps, YouTube, Gmail, Play Store. Let me rephrase that. You won't find these apps pre-installed on this device, and sideloading them isn't a straightforward thing here. Although there's also the app gallery from Huawei to install apps and some Google alternatives, but then the Google services are things most of us can't do without. There are ways to hack your way through, but not exactly feasible for the average consumer. So this is something worth considering when picking a new Huawei device right now. So enough of that, let's talk about something else on this device. Let's compare something else. For the batteries, you get a 50-20 mAh battery capacity from the Redmi Note 9S with an included 18 watts fast charger. While the Huawei here features a 4000 mAh battery with a 10 watt charger from within the box, again, the Note 9S wins in the segment with over a day's worth of use and abuse. Better battery here goes for the Redmi Note 9S. Aside having a quad camera setup on the Note 9S here and a triple camera setup for the Huawei here, the modules are closely spec'd. Both front-facing cameras on these devices are 60 megapixel sensors, while the main sensors here are 48 megapixels. You have an 8 megapixel ultra-wide for both of them and 2 megapixel depth sensors for both devices. The only difference between these cameras here would be the extra 5 megapixel macro lens which you can find on the Redmi Note 9S. Taking a look at the photos from both devices, one thing is evident, and that's the more saturated images from the Redmi. Photos from the Huawei here tend to look a little less saturated in my opinion, and there are certain times where I'd want to go with that feel. But generally, as far as point and shoots and on-the-go photography, the Note 9S has an edge. For low-light shots straight out of the cameras without any settings, the Huawei gave me better details actually. The difference is more glaring when you flip to the front-facing cameras. You'd notice the Redmi device is a smartphone to pick in this scenario. For videos, you can shoot or record up to 4K from the rear of the Redmi, while the Y8P maxes out at 1080p. While recording on the Huawei, you can switch between the main sensor and the ultra-wide, which is something I couldn't find or get to do on the Redmi Note 9S. For both the front-facing cameras, 1080p is the max resolution for your videos. So my final verdict. I would personally say the Redmi here is a better bargain for roughly $250 or about 100,000 naira, considering the limitations you currently run into with the Huawei device, no Google services, a less performing processor and battery, those kind of stuff here. But if you want something with a better display, then pick the Huawei Y8P here though. Better display on the smartphone. And there you have it, my take on these two smartphones, which retail for around the same price points. Don't forget to hit that like button if you love this video. Share and also subscribe to this channel as it helps us a bunch. Other than that, it's goodbye, and I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Cuídate.